Bry's Comics.
In this video, we're going to talk about how much does it cost to have your books graded by CGC. And this video is being filmed February 1st, 2023. And we're going to look at all the different details, all the different tiers and ages of books and values of books and the costs associated with grading for each, the cost of pressing for each, the cost of signature series, and a whole bunch of helpful tips that I've learned over the years that have been some very expensive mistakes that I think you might possibly benefit from. This video will be a great companion video to another recent video I released called Is It Worth It to Have Your Books Graded? And that video talks more about which books should be graded, and this video is going to talk about the actual cost of those books in a lot greater detail. I'm also going to have examples of some possible different submissions to get like the total per book value. But before we do that, we have some giveaway announcements. Congratulations to Brian Bartrop. Brian, you won the Clayton Crane Signature Series slab from last month's YouTube giveaway, January. And congratulations to Clayton Davis. Clayton, you won the Silver Age Fantastic Four book from the newsletter at brycecomics.com. And we have a brand new set of giveaways for this month here on the YouTube channel. We're giving away the first appearance of Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost, an X-Men book valued at around $200. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, comment, and like this video, and you're entered to win. Every single month, every single video of that month, if you comment and like and are subscribed to the channel, that's an entry into that month's giveaway. At the end of the month, I pick a random video from the month and pick a random comment, check that person is subscribed, and they are the winner. We also have a monthly giveaway over at brycecomics.com. This month, we're giving away the first cover appearance of Doctor Strange, a Silver Age Fantastic Four book valued at over $200. And that newsletter is also where you get first access to new collections that come through the shop. Use code COLLECT10 for 10% off all in-stock items at brycecomics.com. There was a recent announcement from CGC that's kind of a game changer with their pressing service. They have drastically cut down the turnaround time that it takes for them to press books. Now, there's a lot of stuff that goes with this. First and foremost, the fact that they cut it down from like about a year to like about several weeks for pressing leads me to believe that they hired a whole bunch of new people. And that means that they're kind of learning on your books. I mean, there's just no way around it. For them to be able to cut that much of the turn time out, they had to have brought on a whole bunch of more people. And sure, pressing isn't sorcery. I've said this in previous videos. It's not magic. It is a learnable skill, and it's a relatively easy skill to learn. Nonetheless, new people are going to make mistakes. That's something to take into consideration if you're going to have them press your books. Now, the other thing that I don't like about CCS is that they are radio silent about their process. And if you go on their website, you can actually see that it says their pressing procedure is a trade secret. So they won't give out any information about the process that they do to press the books. And the problem that I have with this as a collector, as somebody that would use a presser, is I need to know what they're going to do. I don't need to know how many sheets of paper they use, what type of press, the temperature, how long. I don't need to know the trade secrets, but I do need to know the process. There's several different things that are very important to me as a customer that I look for in a presser. If I were to use a presser, I do it all myself now. But number one is, do they use any kind of tools to get out stubborn creases and finger bends on books, like modern books, Silver Age books? If there's a stubborn crease, if you just put it in the press, it's less likely that that finger bend or stubborn crease that doesn't break color is going to come out. But if you take 30 seconds to take like a massage roller ball or another type of smooth, hard instrument and press out that finger bend, it only takes a few seconds, and then put it in the press, you get phenomenal results. So I don't know if CCS is doing this. I highly doubt they're doing this for the volume that they're doing. They're probably just sticking it in the press. The other thing that's important to me is humidity. Whether it's a modern book, usually not as important for modern books, but it's really important for economy tier and Silver Age books, is to give it a little bit of humidity. It's not restoration. You're just adding a little bit of humidity to the book before you press it. If done properly, you get phenomenal results. And so if I'm going to have a very expensive book, I need to know that there's going to be proper humidity added to that book before it's pressed. I doubt CGC is doing this. There's nothing for me to assume or believe that they are doing this. But we don't know because they're quiet about their process. And the last thing is dry cleaning. It doesn't say anywhere what kind of dry cleaning they're doing on their books, what kind of stains can I expect for them to get out. There's very little that can be done for stains on books, but soiling is a different story. There's a lot that can be done with that. And I don't have any confidence in the cleaning that CCS is going to do because they don't advertise what processes they use. So even though they've cut down their turnaround time, I cannot recommend them because I need answers to those questions before I myself would submit to a presser. I need to know the answers to those 3 questions. What do you do for stubborn creases? What do you do for humidity? And what do you do for dry cleaning? So with that said, let's jump into the computer and take a look at the actual fees and some spreadsheet examples of different submission scenarios. The first thing I want to go over is the CGC membership tiers. And there's 4 different tiers here. There's also a 5th tier, which is if you're a dealer, and I'll talk briefly about that, but that obviously won't apply to most people. So the free account here is if you just want to look up online resources that CGC has, stuff like the registry, chat boards, the census, and get graders notes when they're available on books, you can get a free account. The associate account is $25. This gives you all of those benefits. Plus, it gives you full submission privileges. So you can submit to all of CGC's companies by show or at Comic-Con shows or by mail. You also get 10% off the CCG store, which the only thing I would recommend buying from there is the CGC official guide to grading comics. So you may as well pick that up and get the 10% off. You get a $15 shipping kit, which, you may as well claim it, but going forward, it's unnecessary to use their kits. You can do it yourself. The premium tier here is $149. This gives you all of those benefits. It gives you a little bit better of a shipping kit voucher, and it gives you a $150 credit with CGC. Now, this is only good for the first calendar year, and it's only good towards grading fees. It doesn't count towards shipping. It doesn't count towards any other fee other than grading. So we'll explain when this makes sense. Then the elite tier is $299, gives you all the same benefits here, the $150 credit, but it also gives you 10% off of all CGC grading tiers. So just to break it down, without getting into all the numbers, the associate tier makes sense if you're going to submit less than 5 books per calendar year. The premium tier makes sense if you're going to submit 5 books or more in a calendar year. And the elite tier makes sense if you're going to submit and spend $1,500 in grading fees or more per calendar year, because you get 10% off grading fees. So if you spend $1,500, 10% of that's $150. You add that to this, and that washes out the annual fee. So if you spend that breaks down to about 75 modern books. So if you're going to submit about 75 modern books or the price equivalent of that per calendar year, the elite tier makes sense. Now, the dealer tier, you have to meet certain specific guidelines. You have to have references. You have to be in the industry for a period of time. And you have to submit, I believe it's 600 books per calendar year. And the only difference with the dealer account, it's also $299 a year, I believe, is you get 15% off of grading tiers, which, really isn't all that much better than the elite tier. So once you've figured out which membership tier is right for you, come over here to submit and go to services and fees. This video is being filmed on February 1st, 2023. So this is the best place to go for the most current and up-to-date information, because they're constantly changing their fees and all kinds of information. So here's where you find CGC grading costs. Here's where you find CGC's signature series, and here's where you find CCS pressing. CCS is CGC's pressing company. And just to go through some of these real quick, the modern tier is a max value per item of $400. Now, don't get too hung up on this. CGC is not in the business of valuing comic books. They're in the business of grading comic books. So they're not going to police this too closely. And there's also the nuance of the fact that you don't know what the book is going to be worth when it comes back and gets graded. If it's an Ultimate Fallout 4, if it comes back a 9.8, it's worth about $1,800 today. And if it comes back a 9.0 or a 9.2, and two, it might not even be worth that $400 mark. So this value is really what you value the item at when you submit it. It's also the value that is going to be insured at while it's at CGC. And so that's an important consideration. But other than that, don't get too hung up on this max value per item. I'll go more into this in a future video when I go over how to submit to CGC. But the cost per item is $24 per book. Add $15 for Fast Track. Fast Track is a complete waste of money right now and time, it turns out, for the modern tier. I recently did a submission with Fast Track, and the Fast Track Modern took longer than the pre-screen Modern. And pre-screen Modern took about 2 days, and the Fast Track took about 10 days. And I was totally pissed because I paid extra money to have them back faster and they took longer. So long story short, just don't use Fast Track for Modern right now. If these numbers change, it may be worth it once again. But the economy tier is a different story. This is for books pre-1975, max value per item $400, $35 fee per item, plus $15 for Fast Track. And here's where the time difference really makes a difference for Fast Track. It cuts it down from 155 working days, which doesn't include weekends and holidays. So you add that up and it's a huge delay. And if you do the Fast Track, it cuts it down to 20 working days. So in a lot of cases, it's worth it to do Fast Track. And if it's not because of the cost, then you may want to consider why you're even submitting these books in the first place. If it's for the personal collection, then of course that makes perfect sense. But if it's for reselling, if this fee is causing it to not be worth it, you probably don't want to submit economy books in the first place. So this is where the rookie mistake comes into play, is submitting books in the economy tier because of the cost and everything, especially when you factor in pressing. I see a lot of people submitting, Silver Age 12-cent books that are only worth about $100. And when you factor in all the costs, they're losing money. So that's the big rookie mistake to avoid, is really crunch those numbers, especially for the economy tier. Standard is $1,000 max per item, $80 fee for that, 15-day turnaround time. And as you can see, the standard, express, and walkthrough tier have no limitation on date. It's all about the value. The express tier maxes out at $3,000 per item, $130 fee, and it's a 5-day turnaround time. The walkthrough tier has no limit on value, and it's either 3% of the fair market value with a minimum of $150. 3-day turnaround time currently for walkthrough. We're not going to go into reholdering at this time. Well, I guess we could just go over it real quick. It's $20 for an item valued up to $1,000. It takes 43 working days. And for a high value book, which is anything over $1,000, it's $50 to have it reholdered. They're not going to regrade the collectible unless there's evidence that the book has been damaged some point along the way. If that's the case, it may need to be regraded. But if it appears to be in the same condition as when they graded it, they're just going to slap a new case on it. Here's a pre-screen. Pre-screen, there is no cost unless it's rejected. So they've changed pre-screen to where it's now only for the modern or economy tiers, and you have to select the same grade for all 25 books. If it doesn't hit that grade, it's an $8 rejection fee. This has changed a little bit, but now as it currently sits, you have to have at least 25 books in the same tier, either modern or economy, and you only select one pre-screen grade. If it doesn't hit that grade, it's rejected, returned to you raw with an $8 fee. And this adds apparently 30 days to the turnaround time, but actually currently adding the pre-screen is making modern submissions go through faster. It's not adding time, it's making it go through faster. And my suspicion on why this is the case is they probably hired a whole bunch of new people to do pre-screening, because it's one of the easiest things to do is to pre-screen modern 9.8 books. And so they're probably overstaffed in this area. This may change over time where it goes back to this. So now for signature series, the thing to note about this is for modern and economy tiers, it adds about 40% to the grading fee. And this makes a big difference if you're doing it for the resale value. When you add in 40% to the cost of grading plus the cost of the signatures, it really doesn't make a sense for a lot of books, for flipping or for value purposes. For the personal collection, that's a totally different story. And as you go up in value, the cost goes down. So it's actually only about 10% more to the grading fee for Express, and it's only $15 more maximum for the walkthrough. If it's a really high value book, adding a signature is actually not going to cost you anything because it's just going to be 3% of the fair market value. CCS pressing, $15 for a modern book, $30 for economy, $70 for standards, where it really gets pricey, $100 for Express, and the exact same fee for pressing a walkthrough book as it is to grade a walkthrough book. So now I want to take a look at some examples here of what I think could be some popular submissions and get the actual per book cost. So in this scenario here, if you were submitting 25 modern books, this is post 1975, valued at $400 and under, 25 books cost $24 per book. Then you add the pressing fee, which is $15 per book, the shipping to CGC, which is about $40. And here's a good little tip here. If you use CGC's FedEx service, they have really good rates with FedEx, so you can save some money there. What I don't like about FedEx is it's harder to schedule a pickup with them. It costs money. You have to have an account and stuff. But here over at Pirate Ship, you can create a free account with Pirate Ship. You can get really good rates. You really can get up to 89% off for some stuff, usually for UPS. And you can schedule a pickup for USPS and UPS. So you don't have to leave your house. You can print the label right from your house, and you can schedule a pickup so they come and pick it up off your front porch. You can literally do all things comic book without leaving your house. Grading to selling to everything can all be done from your house, and Pirate Ship is a great resource for that. The last thing you want to do is go to USPS or a UPS store and buy a label at the counter. They're going to charge you through the roof, and you can get the exact same label for substantially cheaper with a service like Pirate Ship. So the return shipping from CGC is very reasonable because they have great rates with FedEx. And the good thing about using CGC's return shipping through FedEx is that insurance is provided. And that's a huge thing. And they have great rates for that. And it's a lot easier to deal with CGC if there ever was a problem with return shipping. So the total cost for 25 books in this scenario is $1,055, which comes out to $42 per book. Now, there are some ways to get this cost down. If you have that elite membership that costs $300 per year, you're going to save 10% on the grading fees. So that's going to be a cost savings of $60. And remember, with the elite tier, it's $150 more than the prior tier, and you get $150 credit for grading. You only need to make up a cost savings of $150 to make it worth it. So with this one submission, you're well on your way to paying for that elite membership. Now, here's where you can really save some money is you have the elite membership and you do your own pressing. I mean, the pressing fees alone for $15 per book times 25 is really eating into your margins. You can see that if you do your own pressing, it comes out to $24.80 per book, almost half the cost when you do your own pressing. So here's another example. I wanted to show this to show, the cost savings you can get if you submit more books in the same submission. This is for 100 books, and it comes out to a per book cost of $24.20, which is really close. $24.80 for 25 books, $24.20 for 100 books. And the cost savings here is your shipping to. So when you ship it to CGC, you're going to save money if you have 100 books versus 25. And it only brings it down a hair. And one other thing is that there's a $5 per invoice fee. And if you submit 100 books, they're going to break this up into 4 submissions of 25. The most books in one submission in any tier is 25 because that's how many books they can fit in one box to return ship it to you. So it doesn't matter on your submission form, you submit it as 100 books, one submission. When they receive it, they break it up into 4 submissions of 25. So you're going to save $5 per invoice. So this is 4 invoices for $5 versus 1 invoice for $5. So you save $15, and so your cost per book goes down a hair there as well. Not a huge difference. So here for this tier, we have the economy tier. This is anything before 1975, and let's say you have 10 books before 1975. They're not huge books. They're worth around $400 or $500. And the cost per grading is $35. And the cost for pressing shoots up to $30 for this tier. Shipping 2 is going to be a little bit less because it's less books. It's only going to be $35. This varies depending on what shipping service you use. The return shipping is going to be a little bit less because it's only 10 books. So your total cost for 10 economy tier books is $720, which is $72 per book. That's with the pressing. So some ways to get this down. And one thing to note on this is the turn time. So I would highly recommend adding the fast track service, which brings that total up to $1,020, which is $102 per book. So this is where that rookie mistake comes in. If you're having your books pressed and cleaned and submitted in the economy tier and you use the fast track, you're talking about $102 of grading fees. And this is a book that's only supposed to be worth about $400. So depending on what you paid for that actual book, you can really get in the weeds and get in the red if you aren't paying attention to the types of books that you're submitting. So with the Elite membership, that saves you $65 just on this one submission, and you have the whole rest of the year to make up the rest of the additional $150 cost for the Elite membership. But here's where you save a ton of money, once again, is if you do your own pressing, even with the fast track, with your own pressing and an Elite membership, the total for the submission is $520, which is a $500 cost savings over the regular submission with fast track. So right here, you know, these cost savings for doing your own pressing is so astronomically high. I mean, you can get a fleet of presses for this. It's about $250 for a Gucci pressing setup. Like a really good pressing setup is about $250. So you can get 2 presses up and running just with your savings from this, from a 10 book submission. So it just absolutely makes sense to do your own pressing. Here you could get 4, 6, 8 presses going for the cost savings here. And if you do this, you know, throughout the year, you just see how your savings just stack and stack when you do your own pressing. Here's the Express tier. This is, you know, those expensive books that are valued $3,000 and under. If you did 3 books, it's $130 per book, $100 per book for pressing. Shipping too is going to be a little bit more because you're going to want that insurance. Return shipping is very reasonable still, even with the insurance. And so your total for 3 books is $780, $260 per book for the Express tier. But again, you can really get that cost down if you do your own pressing and get the Elite membership. That brings it down to $147 per book. Now here's that walkthrough tier. This is those holy grails. This is those books valued, you know, certainly, you know, north of $5,000. In this example, we're going to use a book that's worth $20,000. It would cost $600 to have it graded by CGC. It would also cost $600 to have it pressed by CGC. Your shipping to and from is going to be more because of the cost of insurance, about $250 total there, which means your total cost for one $20,000 book to get it graded and pressed is $1,450. And again, that cost savings, you do your own pressing, you're going to save that $600 in pressing fees for this one book. And then once again, the Signature Series, you add about 40% to the cost of grading for Modern and Economy and about 10% to the cost of grading for Express. And you add up to $15 for walkthrough, or it could be no additional fee for Signature Series for walkthrough if it's a really expensive book. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, and like this video for your chance to win the first appearance of Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost. And don't forget to head over to brycecomics.com and sign up for the newsletter over there to be entered to win the first cover appearance of Doctor Strange, a Silver Age Fantastic Four book worth over $200. Follow me on Whatnot for live comic book auctions. Link down in the description for $15 towards your first purchase on Whatnot. I always have items in the Buy It Now for $15 so you can stop by and pick up a new book. Thanks as always for sticking with me to the end. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye.
Bryce Comics.